Look, everybody, it's Hanzo's bow. I think everybody's gonna tell me in the comments how I should make this look like Hanzo's bow. It's time for tag back. It's time to tag pretty far back. This is probably the farthest back we've been besides the Nerf ball in the Nerf blaster category. This is the Nerf bow and arrow. And it's, well, it's pretty freaking old. Now, you might not know this, but when Nerf first started, they weren't shooting necessarily darts. That actually didn't come until way freaking later, but what they started off shooting were like stomp rockets, balls, and arrows. I guess this is supposed to be safe. I mean, really, it's got a pretty decent velocity for what it actually is, but it's the bow and arrow. Not bow and arrow, bow in arrow. You have to make sure you get that right because it's Nerf and that's how they roll. And this shot the 11-inch size arrow, which there have been other types of arrows in Nerf's history, most notably recently with things like the Rebel arrows, but then again we had things like the Blazin' bow. Those shot what were like 7.5 inch or something like that. So you shoot 11-inch arrows and they're 11 inches exactly, and that's pretty cool because it's a bow and arrow, and as you could probably tell by the fact that the string is not taut, this is a spring-powered blaster. A spring-powered blaster with a pretty beefy-sized plunger tube and a pretty beefy-sized spring. At least it has a lot of tension on it. Now, I did not find this or own this as a kid or anything like that. I was literally a baby when this thing came out. But arguably, I still am a baby, but I just wasn't. But you get what I'm saying. But the point is, this was sent to me by a fan, so if it has any kind of modifications done to it, I have absolutely no idea. It has seen better days, but when you have a toy that's, you know, almost 30 years old, that's kind of par for course. And it's, I can't really stretch this video out a whole lot. It's a freaking bow. I mean, cosmetically, it's goofy 90s because it's bright yellow, bright pink, or magenta, and bright blue. All of the tactical 90s camouflage right there. You'd fit right in with your windbreaker and denim jeans and all that gubbins, but it has a big purple arrow at the front of it. Now, there was another version of this bow that came out that shot the same kind of arrow with a little bit more added to it in a slightly different paint job called the Screamer or the Stinger arrow. It shot the Sonic Stinger arrows. I have a package here from Toys R Us for $6. God knows how long ago. This was at my local Goodwill, and yeah, that's awesome. It's got 1 Nerf Club point on it. Man, I sure hope those don't go away. It's a bow. You already know how this works. There's a spring in here. There's a plunger tube. This has got a plunger thing on it. You grab it by the grip right here. There's probably, at some point, supposedly had been arrow holders that went on the side of these so you can carry additional ammo. This one does not have those, but you pull it back. It's got quite a long draw, and then you release it. Just try to... It's not bad, actually. I mean, for 90s Nerf, it's definitely not bad. I mean, you gotta remember that the massive plunger tubes meant to shoot arrows are what gave way to things like the Kenner crossbow that we all know and love. And I've got another style of arrow here. Same kind of thing. It's an arrow. You load it up and... I mean, those fly pretty decently well, all things considered. I mean, they are old, but that's not bad. You could get a tag out with that at a war, and if you have a ruling that like missiles break shields or something like that, then this would be somewhat kind of useful. Or if you're a newbie modder that didn't want to build something out of PVC to kind of replicate this, because there is a popular NIC homemade blaster that's very similar to this, that's essentially just a bow. It's a plunger tube with like elastic and maybe a spring and an RSCB on it. And I mean, you could do that. That's a thing. That does exist. Or you could just buy one of these and rebarrel it. Actually, it looks like this one already has. I could totally fit a dart down there. Oh yeah, no, that's totally already modded. So props on whoever did that. It's got a little sight in the middle of it, but okay, well, what is the point of this? Well, again, if you're a new modder and you want to experience something with a lot of power and you don't want to destroy something super duper expensive, because even if you want to buy one of these brand new, well, not brand new, but you wanted to buy one off eBay or something like that, they're really not that expensive. They're actually fairly common because little kids nowadays don't really want stuff like this. Then, yeah, you could do that. You could either just cut the tip off like this person did, or you could totally rebarrel the thing with PVC or even a magic marker and put that in there and put a dart in there and shotgun darts and it'd be really freaking good. Or you can just go down and buy a Fire Strike and put a jolt spring in it, and that will give you essentially the same thing. So, would I recommend you have to go pick up a Nerf bow and arrow? Not really. I mean, it does do a thing. There are other bows that do the whole bow thing better, but for what this was when this came out, it wasn't really all that bad. And I mean, this is what started Nerf. I mean, they started with the Blast-A-Ball and the Master Blaster, and then this thing, Blast-O-Matic? Master Blaster was a laser tag thing. I think it was called the Blast-O-Matic. There's too many freaking Nerf words with blast in them, but you get what I'm saying. It's not something that I necessarily think you have to rush out and get if you don't have one. It's not some super crazy awesome limited thing that's super expensive and sells for hundreds of dollars, and if you see one you better pick it up. It's a thing. It exists and it works, but it's just that. It's a thing that exists and works. I mean, if you don't have one of the arrows, which you probably don't, then it's pretty much useless to you. So, yeah, don't really worry about the bow and arrow, but I do know there are some of you in there, especially in the older section of my audience, that do in fact have fond memories of this blaster, and I can see why. It even has like a really crazy looking Nerf logo, because again, this was back when things first started. But it's a bow. I mean, if you really like bows, like you have to have bows that shoot arrows, then totally, yeah, totally pick one up. But otherwise, just kind of pass on it. Let me know what you think about the bow and arrow down in the comment section below. And if there's some crazy mod I'm just not seeing that just drives this thing up to a 12, I'd love to hear about it. But honestly, it's a bow. I mean, it's comfortable, but it's a bow. I'm Walcom S7. Thank you very much for watching this video, and of course, I hope to see you in an entirely different one.